Hi again, Mark here from TalkingBass. Today I'm featuring two separate but related lessons from the upcoming Groove Trainer Volume 2 course. We're going to look at a time signature that many beginner to intermediate players will find problematic. 2-2, also known as cut common time. Cut common is more common than you might think, and it's important to understand the difference in counting and feel when moving into styles that use this meter. The course is going to be released later this month and follows on from the successful Volume 1 with a look at new rhythms, time signatures and harmony. There are 13 in-depth bass lessons on the relevant topics before moving into 60 exclusive grooves in a variety of styles from pop to rock to reggae to Latin and jazz. Each groove has a specific video coaching lesson and the grooves are progressive in nature, so your skills are going to develop step by step as you move through the course. So let's have a look at two lessons from the course. Lesson 9 of Module 1 that covers the basics of the time signature, and then we'll move straight into Groove 18 from Module 2, a perfect simple example of cut common in action. Cut common time is an abbreviation for the time signature of 2-2, which is 2 half notes per bar. And I know what you're thinking, 2 half notes is the same as 4 quarter notes, which means 2-2 is the same as 4-4. So what gives? Well, the difference between these two time signatures is the feel of the pulse. 2-2 is often used as a double time feel in styles like Latin or more common Western styles like a march. The best way to demonstrate is with a drum beat. So here's a basic cut common beat in a disco Latin kind of style. So that's a fairly quick pulse, but if we count it as 4-4, we get this very fast count that doesn't really outline the pulse particularly well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the other hand, if we count it in 2, the pulse is definitely outlined. 1, 2, 1, 2. But would that be 2-4? Well, if it's 2-4, then the tempo is going to be pretty slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. But that beat definitely has a lot more drive and momentum. The time signature of 2-2 perfectly represents the feel. The pulse of 4 quarter notes is fairly quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but we're counting in 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. There are half notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it's 2-2, not 2-4. Cut common time can be written as 2-2 or as a C with a line through it, and the tough thing about reading 2-2 is that everything looks like a fast 4-4 because, it looks the same as 4-4. It's written exactly the same. You can read it like that, but I think it's much better to feel the pulse as 2 and count the rhythms as if they were double the value. So a quarter note is counted like an eighth note is counted like a 16th note, and so on. So as an example, here with this basic bass line of half notes, C, G, so half note for each, in 4-4 we would count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But in 2-2 we're going to count it as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If we add quarter notes into the mix, this bass line would be counted in 4-4 as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But in 2-2 we count it as if it's eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. And if we add eighth notes in there, in 4-4, that bass line would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But in 2-2, we're going to be counting 1E and 2E and 1E and 2E and. So this way of doubling up the rhythm values can seem really frustrating at first because you'll be so used to counting them differently. But over time and practice, you just get used to seeing cut common rhythms in a different way. Yes, you can simply count the rhythms like a fast 4, but it can become a bit more stressful, feeling the time at double the speed, because all of those kind of bass lines, we're going to have 1, 2, 1, 2. If you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then trying to count all those rhythms, it's just a lot trickier. If you can just keep a nice laid back 1, 2, 1, 2, then it's going to be a lot easier. number 18 is another cut common Latin disco kind of feel, making use of a repeating rhythmic figure through a chord progression. So the main rhythmic figure here that we're working around is dotted quarter, eighth note tied to half note. So that's going to be counted as 1E and da. So 1E and da 2, 1E and da 2. So very, very slowly, 1E and a 2. So we're not playing anything on 2 because we're tying across. 1E and a 2. Because remember that instead of counting as we would in 4/4, when it would be 1, 2, and, we're in cut common, so the eighth notes are counted like 16th notes. 1E and a 2. 1E and a 2. And then if you just take a C, third fret of the A string, just to play out that figure, 1E and a 2. 1E and a 2. 1E and a 2. So again, because we're working through a chord progression here, it's worth looking at the chord progression first. So this is in F major, and we just have a basic 1-6-2-5 progression. So we start on chord 1, which we have as F major 7. Then we move to chord 6, D minor 7. Then chord 2, G minor 7, and then chord 5, C7, giving us that authentic cadence back into chord 1. So incredibly common chord progression, especially in jazz. So now let's work through the notes in there. So for the first bar, we're on F major. We play. So we've got F and C, the root and the fifth. So first fret E string, third fret on the A string. So remember the rhythm, 1E and da 2. So 1E and da 2. So just take it as slow as you need to get it. 1E and da 2. Then for the second bar, we're on the D minor 7. We've got the D there at the fifth fret of the A string. And then we drop down to the A flat there at the fourth fret of the E string, which is going to be leading into the G. So we've just got this chromatic approach note for the next bar. So 1E and da. So 1E and da 2, 1E and da 2, and then we're down to the G. Now for bar number 3, we expand on that rhythm a little by adding a quarter note on the end. So remember, we're going to count this as if it was an eighth note. So 1E and a 2 and. So it's on the and there, because remember, we're in cut common, so the quarter notes are counted as eighth notes. 1E and a 2 and. Okay? So with the notes there, we have G, D, and G. So root fifth octave pattern again that we've seen in many of these grooves. So third fret on the E string, and then the fifth fret on the A and the D string. So we just work up through that. 1E and a 2 and. So again, just take it as slow as you have to, just to get it with the count. 1E and a 2 and then just build up speed on that. 1E and a 2 and 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 then for bar 4, we just have 4 quarter notes. So remember, in 2/2, we're going to count that as 1 and 2 and we're just working up through the scale there on that C7, which is a C mixolydian. So I mean, you can think of it as F major. It's C mixolydian. So C, D, E, C. Third and fifth frets on the A string, second fret, D string, and back. So 1 and 2 and. So those first 4 bars slowly with the count. 1E and a 2 and 1E and a 2 and 1E and a 2 and 1 and 2 and 1E and a 2 and 1E and a 2 and a 2 and 1 and 2 and. Bar 5, we have our basic rhythm, 1E and a 2 and F and C, root fifth on the F major. So third fret on the D and the A string. So 1E and a 2 and. Then when we get to the D minor 7, we have that expanded rhythm again. So 1E and a 2 and. So we're adding the quarter note on the end, and we're on the D minor. So we've got the D, F, F sharp, and leading up into the G. So fifth fret on the A string, and then third, fourth, and then leading into the fifth fret on the D string. Okay, so root note there, minor third, chromatic passing note leading into the G. So 1E and a 2 and then we're on the G. Then for the G minor 7, basic rhythm again, 1E and a 2, root and fifth on the G, so fifth fret on the D and the A strings, just coming down. So 1E and a 2 and then we finish on the C7 with the same rhythm, but this time root note, and then we drop down to the major third of the chord, the E. So we're on the C7 here, third fret of the A string, and then the open E string, leading us back in to the F to begin again. So 1E and a 2 and there we are. terms of the fretting hand, very straightforward. We're starting with that first finger and fourth finger for the basic perfect fifth interval, then fourth finger for the D, second finger for that A flat leading down into first finger for the G, and then joint barring up with that fourth finger up through the D and the G there. Then first finger, fourth finger for the C, D, first finger, second finger as we come up through that scale. Then when we get up to the F, second finger and first finger, then fourth finger, first finger, second finger, fourth finger, third finger as we come down, and then just first finger for the C and then the open string. So very, very straightforward. In terms of the picking hand, not really much to see here. Really, you can just go with what instinctively feels right. At this point in the course, I shouldn't really be having to point that out, under the musical microscope on these kind of bass lines because, there's not much density there. Basically, I'm using first finger for a lot of it. And then first finger, second finger for the coming up through the root fifth octave. You can alternate on the C, but, at this point, like I say, I'm not going to be outlining every single finger as we work through. Now let's listen to the drum beat. So 2-bar counting. 1, 2, 1, 2. So you can hear in the hi-hat there, we've got open hi-hats on every second quarter, which we're going to count as offbeat, basically, eighth notes. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and that gives it that disco kind of vibe. Then we've got the bass drum on 1, but then we've got the snare on that offbeat there. 1 and da, 1 and da, 1 and da. So it's that offbeat eighth note which we're counting as a 16th note. 1 and da, 1 and da. And then we also have it on the final quarter note, which we count as 1 and a 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1 and 2 and. Okay? So the rhythm that we play in the bass line is being mimicked in the bass drum and snare. So you've got that to lock into. So we've already been through the harmony here, and transposing it is pretty straightforward, just the same as with the other bass lines. But it's worth mentioning that with this kind of bass line, it's worth taking it slow. Really focus on the counting there. 1 and da. Just get that groove down. 1 and da 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1 and a 2 and. So count it as 1 and a 2 and that way you're really outlining the actual phrase in there with the count. 1 and a 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1 and a 2 and 1 and 2 and. Okay? So one final time with the track.